Okay, so good morning, people. I got my GoPro on a selfie stick because my iPhone's not letting me download videos, so day 2 on this. Today, I'm a little tired. You can see it's just getting light out today. We're going to be working on a Honda F6B, which is a sport version of the Gold Wing. It's a very cool bike. I'll kind of show you some pictures. I'll like edit in some pictures right there so you can see that and not see me drinking coffee. I just have to say I hate when people slurp. We were just talking about that yesterday. There was one of the people on a vlog or something like that slurps the entire time they. Oh, that was Gary V. I was saying, oh, it drives me crazy when you're watching him and he's eating nuts and slurping and eating, and you're like going, ugh. I don't know why it always bothers me. So, you know, yesterday one of the seats we did was the back seat for the 52 Chevy. I'll show you that right now. That's the back seat for the 52 Chevy. Now you can see it's in the front area here, so it's kind of dark. So we did that one. We still have to do the front seats. Did I say front seat? That's the back seat. I don't know what I just said. It's too early. The heat's going again. It's very cold. Well, it's actually not very cold. It's not bad. So I'm going to put my coffee down. We're going to actually do the Honda seat. It's I won't say super simple, but it's kind of a weird mod that we're doing to it. We've done this. It's really weird. The trends of the Honda ETX seat, it's huge in comparison, ginormous. The trends change, not even trends, it's just I don't know why people's seating habits change. Although I guess when you look at this seat, you can see why. I'm going to spin this around there. So when you're looking at this seat, oops, sorry about that. You can see it has this slope here. So when you're sitting, it kind of makes it like, I don't know, it's just not good. So I get why that is. So one of the big things that we've been noticing is people have wanted, instead of a nice sculpted seat, everybody wants these like 90-degree seats, almost like those stunt seats they're doing for like the FXRs and stuff in California, all over the place. There's people over here doing them too, but so it's a different trend and everything's are changing. So I'm going to try to be a little more positive and uplifting and happy as I get awake this morning. Maybe the coffee will help me, although I probably shouldn't be drinking coffee because that's part of my new diet, and I'm on like day 1 of a healthier living life. You know, I never do a New Year's resolution, but this year I'm actually going to try and use that as a stepping stone. So, anywho, enough bullshit about me. Let's get on to doing the seat. Try to get this Honda seat stripped down. I got my tools ready. I'm working on the table. I normally use a carpeted table for the seats, especially when we're trying to reuse the cover, but this one's clean, so I'm going to just kind of go for it. Remove all the staples. Backwards here so you can see. But we are reusing this cover, so I want to make sure that we won't put any nicks in it or marks in it. Whenever you're removing staples, you know, if you're in a hurry, you can do it one way, but you want to save the cover. If you try to take a staple off and press down like that, you put rips around the edge of the seat, so you just definitely don't want to do that. So we're just going to go through, we're going to loosen them up. Always watch our staples, make sure you don't drop any on the table. If you drop any on the table and you spin your seat around, you're going to scratch it or rip it. Nobody wants that. That's so exciting. Take this off, take this off. Staples off. This is a big Gold Wing thing. Hondas always do this. They have these little tabs with the strings. That's what holds this seam down nice and tight. They've done this for years. Any old Gold Wing guys knows that you were taking apart one of the old seats, there'd be like 20 or 30 of these things over there, and they hold all the buttons down. Everywhere there was a hole, there used to be buttons, and it was kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. But Gold Wing is a pretty good bike. Now what I noticed, I thought was kind of funny with this, everybody's bashing Harley. However, it seems like every manufacturer, you know, this F6B is really starting to get fairings and look more like a street glide or a road glide. It has that touring look to it. You know, so it's kind of funny. And also like the new Indians, you know, they're so those are off. Now we're going to flop this over carefully because I'm not working on the carpeted table. I don't want to cut any of the edges of the seats. The seat's good, so now you can see, boom, here's those little plastic clips that we were doing. We're going to stick this over here. For this seat here, I'm going to have to actually grab the build order and pull this plastic off it. Get this rack hole up. So they put plastic on it for moisture barrier and for, you know, the ease of moving a seat cover around when you're doing it. And there's always like, some people think you have to have the plastic on there for moisture. Some people don't. What's funny is in humid climates, bikes that don't get a lot of rain, the plastic actually traps the moisture underneath the foam. So sometimes when you pull these things apart, they smell horrible. So I'm not really completely convinced that, you know, the plastic's a benefit. I know in a lot of seats we use them because you have to maneuver the seat around and it allows you to pull it and slide easier versus putting like a silicone product on there. So here's the seat now. We're going to be cutting it up. I got to grab some tools because I don't really usually work at this bench. So okay, so on this specific seat, what I do is we actually have, which I just realized they're not on our website anymore. I'm going to put them back up on my website. Is that we had build order forms and questionnaires for our dealers to kind of, if they run through both of them, they could actually have us design a seat fairly easily. So some of our dealers actually have those, some don't. So we're going to put them up on the website so that they can access them. This seat here is, so what we have to do, I'll draw it out and I'll spin the seat so you can see it. We're going to raise here because he doesn't want to use any sort of backrest. So by raising this a little bit, it'll give you a little bit more back support. We're actually going to lower here a little bit. We're going to notch this whole area out so he has more of a vertical back, and then we're going to actually cut out the tailbone and add a soft foam here. So let me do this. So we're going to dish this out. So you can kind of imagine this. Right now when you sit on this, you know, there's no support at all. You're just completely like, this is your butt, you know. So we're going to lower this. That'll get the rider down in the pocket a little bit more. We're going to bring this up and forward to give you some back support, almost like a drag seat, but not too much, because on touring bikes sometimes you want to put your feet up on the highway pegs and just relax and kick back. So we don't want to go too much because that'll put too much pressure in your back. A new thing we've been doing a lot is we actually eliminate the tailbone completely, put a super soft foam in there so that the seat still looks the same. However, there's zero pressure on your tailbone. This one we're not doing, but a lot of times we actually have to cut out the front here for prostate pressure for men. The Gold Wings aren't really that known for it. It's more of a street glide and touring, Harley touring seat. And then this will allow the rider to sit a little bit more in the pocket. So I'm going to cut all this out and get this done. I'm not going to bore you with sculpting foam, but one thing I would like to say is I would like to thank, this actually is a referral from Libby's Motor World down in New Haven. They've been sending us business for years. Love them, highly recommend them. We've had a lot of customers who go down there, and they're one of the few dealers that we deal with that we don't have, you only hear positive stuff. I never hear negative stuff about that dealer, which is great. So, you know, people who know me know that I recommend everybody until we hear a lot of negative stuff, or a few negative things even, because then it's hard to recommend someone, you know, knowing that you're sending them to someone that might not do them right. So again, Libby's, it's been around, family business, it's been around for a long time. Everybody down there are great people, and they treat their customers well. So I highly recommend them. So I'm going to get to the seat now. I'm going to lop it all up, and then we're going to get it together. The hard part about doing this is when we're reusing the factory covers, one, it does save people money. Two, a lot of people like that factory look. They just want their bike to look exactly the way it was when they bought it, and I get that. But when you start doing a lot of modifications, sometimes you can't. So this seat's actually a newer design, so we haven't done a lot of them. And with this modification, dipping it down and raising it up, I'm hoping by doing so, this extra material that we're cutting out will actually be tightened up a little bit. There is a possibility that I'll put the cover on. It's not going to look good. I'm going to take it off and then have to add some like a really soft invisible foam here just to make the seat cover look factory, but you won't feel anything. So I'm going to get to this and then I'll show you the seat when we're all done foaming it. So I wanted to show you this. I know I was going to say I was going to have it all foamed and done, but so when I cut the back of the seat out, it goes right up to the seat pan. We dish it down slightly. It's probably about maybe 1.25 inches right now. I still got a Sculpting, grinded all that jazz. Then we'll put a higher grade foam in there. But you can see we cut out the tailbone. This is the seat pan. So I think what they were trying to do with the seat is have it raked back because it actually has a nice style or better look to it. But this is where form meets function. These riders still want to be able to ride. So as cool as the bike looks with a touring bike, it's all about touring. So now you can see we rough sculpted it here. So it's more vertical, which I'm still going to sculpt it. I don't really get this whole 90 degrees shit. This is not a stunt bike. You don't put your foot here and do a wheelie. So we're going to bring this back slightly, get a nice contour, because as long as we can get a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of foam around the backside here, you're good. Your back needs a softer foam. It doesn't need as much area to compress, whereas your cushion, your heavy butt cheeks, that really is your key. So there's enough foam here. So I shaved here a little bit. We're going to grind this and sculpt this and go over it. I kind of wanted to touch base with... So I forgot I was shooting a video here and started putting the cover on to test fit it. It's going to be kind of loud. We're going to have the heat gun going and all that. So what I'm trying to do now is basically the original seat, this part here was actually back here. So ideally whenever you do a seat cover you want to have a stitch going across the seam, but trying to reuse this factory cover, we can't do that. So what I'm doing now is with the Honda Gold Wing seats, they're kind of tough because you have to have these bolt holes. That's what holds the seats on. So if you're reusing the original cover, this has to line up exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat it up. I'm going to kind of maneuver it down, see if we get the extra material that was lost down into here, which is going to be very difficult because we took quite a bit out of this seat. So once I get it stretched on here, if it doesn't look and feel good, I might have to pull it apart and put that foam in that I discussed in the beginning. So let's see what we can do here. We'll get this nice and warm. So we'll get this warm so that we can move the wrinkles over. Push this down, walk it down. So that goes in there. We're going to make sure our holes are still lined up, which they are. And now we're going to warm up this back here. It's going to be a tight fit here. Okay. Side here. Now the fun part. We need to get more material into here, which is very difficult because this still has to make it around here. So let's start warm. So we're able to actually line it back up with the original mark. So Honda actually puts marks where the seams are supposed to go, which is kind of cool. And we modified it, so a lot of times we're unable to do that. But we're in on the money there so far. Let's heat this back up. Here, see if we can come on money. Right on the seam like it's supposed to be. Boom, boom. just before that seam. This one was just before that seam. I think we're about to have another interruption, so I'll have to pause this. Okay, so look very carefully. Symmetrical. Getting there. Okay, so now seat cover's on it. This modification definitely pushed reusing the factory cover to the limit by moving it back, because the Gold Wing uses those little strings in the backside of the seams to pull it in. They got really close to the seat pan. It was kind of just at the point where you couldn't really modify the seat anymore without putting a new seat cover on it or sewing the new pattern into it. So you can see here it was raised slightly. It doesn't look as modified because there's a little free floating going on. If you push the cover down, you can see it's actually a little bit lower, but it free floats back here, so it looks good. This is out quite a bit. If you remember the seat before, up here was out here, back here, and had that big sharp angle. So now it's more vertical and pushed forward a little bit. Where the tailbone is, there's actually it's a soft foam over there and slightly free floated, so you don't see it, but you'll have no pressure on your tailbone, which is okay. And on a funnier note, during making the seat, Big Mouth Derek came in and said that he feels we should keep these videos more about doing the work start to finish and seeing it, because I kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent and talk about stuff, and he says no one wants to hear any of my stupid ideas, to keep my mouth shut and to stick to the plan of making the seats. So I had a whole bunch of stuff that I had said in the first video that I actually deleted because I guess it would be offensive to some people.